Deedle. 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 Hey. Doesn't seem to be working very well at the minute, this. Oh, there you go. Okay. Here we go then. Good evening. Hope you're well this evening. I think I've got one or two people around this evening. So just doing some regular periscopes. Having not done any for ages. But I just thought I'd do some. And Deedle's here as well. Say hello to Dee Dee. That's Dee Dee the Malamute, 7 months old. Champion already. I'm in the UK. I'm in a place called Staffordshire in the UK. So that's basically like what we call the Midlands in the UK. Where are you from? And thanks for the hearts. Right, yeah, as I said, have not been doing lots of periscopes recently. From London. Oh, that's Millie. Hi, Millie. Somebody from Wales. Lovely. And just in case you didn't know, I'm half Welsh. My mum's down in St Bride's Major in Wales. And I spent my teenage years in Llantwit Major, or Llanilfdid Fawr, as some Welsh might say it. And hopefully I've pronounced that quite well. So I've got lots of people down there. St Athan, St Bride's Major, etc. So this one is a broadcast, as I think I put in the title, about a sales meeting structure. And it was prompted by a meeting that one of our team in the branding initiative, in the branding initiative had yesterday, and I will spare the embarrassment of who that person was and who went to meet her, but it was a network marketing person who she'd never met before, right, and arranged to come and see her. And so she turned up at her house, and she sat down, and she proceeded to give her 2 hours worth of pretty heavy sales pitch. 2 hours. And then, yes, Millie. And then, way too long. And then, at the end of that very heavy 2 hours worth of sales pitch, closed and closed and closed and closed, but didn't get anywhere. So, what's the problem here, right? Well, it's not just a problem of network marketing. Yeah, time is a problem, Millie. But what is the problem here? It's not just something that network marketers do. That's the first point on that, right? So it's definitely not just something that network marketers do. If you could share this broadcast, anybody that's on this Periscope, that would be useful, please. Thank you. It's not just a problem of network marketers, but I think it's actually pretty prevalent with network marketers. Yeah, good question. I think you press the thing just down on the right, and then I think it gives you the option to share, doesn't it? Millie, you've got 289 hearts, and MJ's got 8 hearts. Wow, you multi-hearted people. Let's see, where is it? Well, I thought it was down there, how you shared it and that. I'll have to find somebody who knows how to do it. I used to know how to do it. Where is it? Oh, you got it. Good. Right. Yeah. So it's doesn't just apply to network marketers, but I think it particularly applies to network marketers, and it applies also to ordinary salespeople in inverted commas ordinary businesses, right? So, and having been in sales as salesperson, sales manager, sales director for too many years, probably about 20 odd or something like that, then I've seen a lot of this bad practice. So I went into sales basically when I came out of the Navy. I went to work for a company called Ferranti Computer Systems, which probably doesn't exist anymore now, and then a company called Memorex Telex, which was an American company, most of which I don't think exists either anymore. That American company actually competed against IBM, and at the time the IBM sales force and the ranked Xerox sales force, they were regarded as the best sales force in the world. So we were competing against the best sales force in the world. And we always, for example, dressed in blue suits and white shirts and black socks and black shoes and somber ties or sober ties, nothing too flashy, unless you were the top salesman in the world or something, in which case you could wear what tie you liked. And at this company, we had a system for a sales meeting that all new salespeople into the company would be taught, right? All new salespeople would be taught this system in one of their first training sessions, right? Now, one of the problems with a lot of network marketing companies is they don't have such training sessions, right? Or if they do have them, they teach people the wrong way, and that's because the uplines of the people that just joined don't have a clue, right? Probably never actually done it themselves before, done lots of network marketing meetings, but were never actually a professional salesperson, salesman or saleswoman. So they didn't actually know what to do, right? So it's a bit of the case of the blind leading the blind, really. Whereas in Memorex Telex, we definitely had a structure that we would use, and that was used actually by every salesperson in the company, anywhere in the world, right? So everybody knew it. The sales managers knew it. The sales directors knew it. All of the other directors of the company, they knew that this system was being used, right? So, and basically, it was a sales pyramid, what we call a sales pyramid. Now, there are variations on this sales pyramid, and to be honest with you, I might not even remember each exact term of the sales pyramid, right? But what I will say to you is this, is that, even after 20 odd years, right, of having sales meetings, sometimes you sort of forget how to structure a meeting, right? And you actually need to go back and remind yourself, a bit like maybe, I don't know, a tennis player or a football player, right, needs to remind themselves about certain shots, or certain plays. And if I will often, go back and I will just think about that structure, right? And one of the key elements of that structure is that it employs a philosophy, if you like, right, which is called two ears, two eyes and one mouth, and you should use them in that proportion, right? So it means that, if you like, 2/5 of the time you should be listening, 2/5 of the time you should be observing, right, and only 1/5 of the time should you be talking, right? Now, at the end of this, I'll just give another, if I remember, phrase which I think is quite useful, right, for as a reminder, an aid memoir about that, right? So anyway, let's have a little look at this structure, right? And I haven't got a posh, what do you call it, presentation slide. It's not on my computer or anything like that. But there it is, right? It's a pyramid. Not to be confused with pyramid systems or network marketing or MLM, etc. It's just a structure of a sales call, right? Now, back in Memorex Telex days, what we would do is we would have this little triangle or pyramid, right, down here in one of the corners. I forget which one it was now. It was either that one or it was that one. I forget which. But anyway, so we would have that down there, and then all of this around here, right, would be blank space where we could write. And the actual pad that we had was a what they call a triplicate pad, right? So it was a triplicate pad, and so that meant that you had 2 copies of what you wrote on the top page, and those 2 copies would go like would go to your sales manager or something. One would go into the company file, and one you would keep yourself in your own file. Yeah, so it was a triplicate, as I say, booklet, right? So when you went into the actual meeting, right, what's the first thing that you would do, right? Now, actually, it doesn't really matter whether you're in a meeting with a company or whether you're in a meeting with a person, right? The terminologies might be different, the questions might be slightly different, but it's pretty much the same, right? So you go and you meet this person, whoever it is, right? And we might actually think about this person that had this meeting with my colleague at the branding initiative, right? And so she would come down and she would basically say, oh, can you tell me a bit about yourself, right? Or if it was a company, can you tell me a bit about the company background and locations? Now, this was very important when it was a computer systems company, because you really needed to know how many locations they had, and what the company did, where it came from, right? Actually, it's always very useful to know where a company comes from, where it originates, because basically its ethos, if you like, its culture never changes, or usually never changes, even when it gets bigger, right? So the first question, and note this is a question, right? First question is about somebody's background. It's about them, or it's about the company's background, and it's about their locations, right? And then the next question would be something a bit deeper, like about the company strategy, right? Or if it was a person, right, then you might be saying, okay, so tell me what you're doing, right? And, why are you doing that? Something like that, yeah? And then the next question would be something like, okay, where do you want to be in the future, right? Now, say if that was a company and you were going talking to the, about computer systems or something, you'd be asking them how they wanted the system to work in the future, right? How many people would it have to support? Where would it have to support those people, right? So these are all basically questions about how they want the finished solution to look like, right? So you're basically getting them to project forward, and you're getting them to say, yeah, okay, this is how I'd like it to be when I've got this actual problem or situation resolved, right? Okay, so now we know where they want to be, and so the question that we can then ask is basically, okay, where are you now then, right? What's the situation at the minute? Yeah, what's your personal situation at the minute? Oh, they might say, oh, well, I'm, working for so-and-so, but I really want to be doing this, as I told you. Or they might say, if it was a company, they'd say, well, we've got this solution working in this office, but we need to get it rolled out to, that office and that office, and we need to support total number of people, you know, so, and we're not there yet. We've only got, you know, I don't know, half a dozen people on the system or something just in this office, right? So you know now, where they want to be, and you know where they are now, right? And that is basically, as I think you can probably see it there, that is known as the gap, right? It's the gap. It's the gap. It's the difference. Yes, I can see the hearts. Thank you very much, Kellyanne. They're all lovely and loads of them. Thank you. Yeah, it's the gap. It's the gap between where they want to be, person or company, and where they are now. It's the gap, right? So what you've got to do is you've basically got to provide a solution to fill that gap, right? In simple terms, right? Now, the next question up is basically what is known in the sales industry as a trial close question, right? A trial close, right? And it basically goes like this. You go, okay, so I understand that you need this, and this, right? Now, listen, if I could help you with that, if I could provide a solution that addressed those issues, right, would that be of interest, right? And hopefully, usually, normally, the answer would be yes, right? That would be of interest, right? And you'd go, okay, great, right? Now, if they say, no, it's not really of interest, either they actually don't have a problem, right, or they just don't want to tell you, probably, right? Anyway, let's assume that they say, yeah, I agree with you. That is a summary, if you like, of the things that I actually need to address, right? You'd say, okay, fine. In that case, tell me, right, about this word again is something that's well known in the sales industry, man, money, authority, and need, right? So tell me, have you got the money to do this project? Have you got a budget allocated to it, right? If you have got a budget allocated to it, right, would you mind giving me some idea of what that is? They're not always going to tell you, right? But they might tell you. Sometimes they will. Okay, so you say, okay, yeah, so if you've got a budget, yeah, and it's, okay, roughly that. Fine, okay, right. Now, another question is like, to the person is, okay, do you have the authority to actually, is it going to be you that's going to make this decision, or are you going to involve some other people in your company? I will make the recommendation to the board. Okay. So you're going to recommend it to the board, and the board will make the decision. Yeah. Okay, fine. We've already, and the N is need, right? So, and we've already pretty well established, right, that he does actually have a need. Yeah. So, okay. So now we know he's got money. We know who's going to make the decision. Roughly we know how that decision-making process is going to be made, right? And we know that they have a need, right? The other question that we can say is basically, what are the timescales on this? Then give me an idea. Like, when do you want this solution implemented? When do you want it all resolved? Oh, I need to have it done within about 6 months, let's say, right? Oh, okay. So, and when are you going to make the decision on this then? Well, okay, listen, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go to the board Monday after next. Okay, right, so you say, okay, so now you know, if you like, roughly what the timescales are on this, right? So you can say, okay, you can actually then go to the final step, right, on the pyramid, which is basically to agree a plan, right? This is not a heavy close, right? You've done a little light close, as we called it, right? When you said, if I could help, you would, would you be interested, right? You've done a little one of those, right? You don't need to be going in with heavy boots on and saying, and like, close. You don't need to do it, right? You basically say, okay, so this is what I propose as a plan, or something like that, right? So you say, okay, so you need to get, you've got your board meeting Monday after next, right? So say if I get a proposal back to you, right, by the middle of next week, would that be okay? Yeah, Chris, that'll be fine. right? If you get that proposal back to me middle of next week, right, I can look through it, and if there's any adjustments and that, right, we can make those like before Friday, and then I can like think on it over the weekend, and I can be ready then to go into the board meeting and present the proposal, right? And there you have a plan, and it's as simple as that, right? And so, you know, there isn't any heavy closing required, right? It's completely inappropriate. And so, of course, the thing that you'll have noticed there, right, is that most of the time what's been happening is that you have been asking a lot of questions, and then you've been listening to the answers, and you've been observing the body language, if you like, right, and things like that. And sometimes, you know, sometimes the people will actually like draw a diagram or something like that, you know, to explain something, right? So you've been listening, you've been observing, and you haven't actually been doing that much talking. And the little phrase that I was going to say to you, right, is basically this one, which I quite like, and that which actually came from somebody in network marketing, which basically is, right, if you sat down to a meeting, right, and each of you have got a cup of tea, right, then you want the person that you're talking to have a full cup of tea in there, you know, still at the end of the meeting. What does that mean? Well, if they've still got a full cup of tea, it's because they've been talking all the time and didn't have time to drink their tea, right? Meanwhile, you drank all yours because you were listening and observing, right? So that's basically it. That's the sales structure that I recommend, and I hope that that's of some interest to you, right? And if it is, please let me know. Bye for now.